And welcome to our culture magazine, La Reine Soleil, in English, The Sun Queen. That's the title of an animated film signed Philippe Leclerc and inspired by Christian Jacques' bestseller. The Sun Queen is a Princess Akessa, daughter of Akhenaten, the heretic Egyptian pharaoh. The film hit French screens yesterday, but it's in Egypt that the world premiere took place. And in a country where the French language is on the decline, La Reine Soleil will be screened in French, a daring risk, but one which could signal a revival of French film in Egypt. Jinty Jackson has more.
A world premiere in the shadow of the pyramids. The launch of the animation Princess of the Sun is quite an event in Cairo. Made by French director Philippe Leclerc, Egyptian audiences will get to see the film in French.
I enjoy the French cinema, and I would like to see it regain its place in our country and in the entire Middle East. American cinema has invaded our world, and we need other influences.
The film tells the story of the Princess Akissa, daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti, an engaging tale that the Egyptian producer hopes will find a French-speaking audience.
I have the hunch that this will happen. We have 1,500 French schools. We have 12 French universities in Egypt. And I think there's people, with a cartoon movie, it would be a clever idea to open with this melt the ice between the language and the culture.
Jazz violinist Didier Lockwood was in charge of the soundtrack, a job that involved blending cultures.
There is ethnic African music, there is orchestral music, there is even touches of Yiddish music or klezmer.
The film may be set in ancient Egypt, but the themes are modern. The characters deal with issues like parental separation, adolescent rebellion and religious conflict.
Given the content and knowing the conditions under which Egyptian cinema operates, and the problems it often has to deal with, I was a little frightened when I heard the film had gone to the censor. But, phew.
In the end, the filmmakers were forced to add a disclaimer at the beginning, promising that the story is purely fiction. 6 copies of the film in French, with subtitles in Arab and in English, are already showing in Cairo. The film opened yesterday in cinemas in France.
Our guest's music is the perfect antidote to those who want to oppose East and West, because it manages to mix these two worlds elegantly and harmoniously. Rabih Abu Khalil, hello. Thank you for joining us today. So you've come without your oud, but with a new album, Songs for a Sad Woman, a title that I find sticks perfectly to your album, because the music is grippingly melancholic and beautiful, kinds of like Pretty Woman who's a bit sad, really. Why are you in a sentimental mood, to paraphrase the mythical album from Duke Ellington and John Coltrane?
Well, I think, men and art in itself has always been something that depicted emotions that are the most profound, and I think there's nothing as profound as sadness. Especially not a woman's sadness. Men have different expressions when they feel sadness. They're more depressed, they're angry, they're mad, and many other things, but they're definitely not sad. And there's not as much romanticism in consoling a man who's depressed as there is in consoling a sad woman. And so this is the romanticism that's actually a very easy subject to be expressed musically.
So some of your compositions are very romantic, some joyfully intertwined jazz and Arabic and Andalusian music. Let's listen to one of your songs, M'amuse, m'amuse. Well, in my opinion, Songs for a Sad Woman leans more toward your music's oriental side than towards jazz. Is this due to the presence of George Dabagian and his duduk, an Armenian oboe?
Well, I mean, that's always a difficult question when people ask me about different influences or why is this more jazz? Why I never really think about it. I just.
How did you meet him?
Well, I had heard the duduk in itself, but you know, as I said, and I always mention that it's not by instruments that I choose musicians, it's really by the musical personality that they represent. And I heard a lot of duduk players before, and none of them actually gave me the feeling that this is somebody I can actually work constructively with. There's always, you know, when you add somebody who can play his instrument, always works. But to add that little extra something where I know that he can actually change my music in as much as I'm hoping I could change his music, this is what made me actually look for him.
The funny thing is that George Dabagian speaks only Armenian, so how did you manage to communicate during the recording sessions?
Well, it was very difficult. He had a dictionary, an Armenian English dictionary. So unless I was, well, at times it was very, very funny because a lot of the words have many meanings. If you say somebody, well, from the end of your solo, end could mean a million things in English. So I'd look at the dictionary and it would be a dictionary in Armenian. I can't read Armenian, so I tell him end, and then he would say, well, you know, finish, no more solo. I say no.
Music was the common language.
Music was the common. Well, emotionally, you know, you can always speak emotionally. That's one thing that's very universal.
The general feeling one gets listening to Songs for a Sad Woman is that your music is really timeless, that it transcends time. Is it your goal?
I think it's every artist's goal to actually be around when he's not around himself. And of course, this is something why we all end up composing. It's an inner pressure that makes us need to express ourselves in something that's maybe goes beyond words. And there's always a you know, like Edgar Varese said, the present day composer refuses to die. I think all composers refuse to die.
Thank you so much, Rabih Abou Khalil, for being our guest today to talk about Songs for a Sad Woman. That's the title of Rabih Abou Khalil's latest album. And Rabih Abou Khalil is kicking off a European tour. He'll notably be in Hamburg on April 19th, in Salzburg on May 5th, in Sofia in May 2. More details, of course, on our website, france24.com. See you again tomorrow.